You're listening to the Everyone's Wrong podcast. We leave trigger warnings, safe spaces, political correctness behind to explore the extremes of political discourse.
Hey, you fucks, this is, hey, you fucks, this is Everyone's Wrong. I'm Dave, aka the Great White North.
I'm Dustin Dark.
And tonight it's just the two of us, so you can expect some, what did that one guy say? Not exactly intellectual conversation.
I believe he said it went from everyone's wrong to everyone's stoned. Which the thing is, Ed actually smokes weed.
Yes.
And you
I
don't.
But I drink a shit ton of beer.
You do, and you have a history of
drug use. Serious drug use.
And Ed is a newbie to the sport. On the same episode, let me interrupt you real quick. On the same episode, we talked about how you take care of yourself a fair amount, and Brooke's like, doesn't he fucking drink and smoke all the time? I was like, he does smoke pretty regularly, but he's working on the drink and he's cut back. You know, you push it to recordings and things like that, and so that's not
the reality of the situation. I don't smoke as much as what people would assume, but I eat super healthy and I work out pretty hard, even though I do drink and smoke. Like I don't eat any simple carbs, like no pastas, no breads. I don't eat snacks. It's just meat, fruit, veg. The rest of the week I drink water and I drink when we're recording on the weekends only. So I guess it's not like crazy healthy, but pretty healthy.
I just know you have a smoke before we record and then a half an hour later, 45 minutes.
Yeah, but I'm drinking.
Okay.
You didn't realize people smoke more when they drink?
Look, man, if I'm smoking something, I'm getting high. So I don't know cigarette habits.
That is true.
Yeah, I'm way too frugal to smoke just to keep my hands busy.
Yeah, I get it. And you did just hit the bong 30 seconds ago.
Well, that wasn't in the recording.
So they missed that. So I ratted you out.
You did rat me out.
Alabama police.
I edit out more of those than you might think, Dave.
They're gonna kick in his door. Is Dustin
Dude,
Dork
that's not
here?
funny.
We're looking for Dustin Dork.
You son of a bitch.
Sorry, I mean Dark.
Dude, that has happened twice.
Yeah.
Except they don't show up and knock here. This is America.
Oh, okay.
If you think they show up and knock like you're living in the 1920s, no, they kick in with all of the guns.
So
they bring half of America's guns.
They call you here. I mean, they don't always call you. Quick story. Should I give a quick story?
Please give a quick story.
So, for the people that don't know, I have a pretty shady background. Anyways, we did a bunch of break and enters and we had some guns and we were young and we were showing them off to people and somebody ratted us out. And I was having sex with my girlfriend. And you guys have McCain Deep and Delicious chocolate cake down there? It's like this cake that you buy that's like half frozen when you buy it and then it thaws.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
Anyways, we were using it as sexual enhancement, I guess, putting it on each other and eating it off each other. So anyways, we're fucking and the phone rings and there was a bunch of other people in the house and they answered the phone and it was the cops telling us that they were coming to raid us. So to put down or put any weapons that were in the house, like in the middle of the room because they were coming in. So nobody told me that they were coming in. So they come in through the front door. They fucking cuff everybody. They get to the bedroom. They grab me. They fucking throw clothes on or tell me to throw some clothes on. I've got fucking chocolate cake all over my dick and balls. They take me to jail. When you get to jail, you get strip searched. I have fucking chocolate cake all over my cock and balls. The guard's like, what the fuck? I'm like, it's chocolate cake.
I was fucking a cake when I got arrested. Don't ask questions.
Honest, it's cake. It's not shit.
Oh my god! Well, if it was shit, I'm sure they would have smelled
For
it
sure.
before they saw
For
it.
sure.
Yeah. Oh my god! You always have some fucking ridiculous story. No, they don't call us, man. They don't call us at all.
Well, okay, so there's two different types of raids though here, right? Like weapons and then just drugs. So when it's just drugs, they don't call you because they don't want you to flush your shit down the toilet. They'll just kick your door in and arrest you. And I guess with weapons, they don't want to come running into a home where there's people behind the door with guns, right? So they warn you, you're surrounded. Put down the fucking weapons, we're coming in. I think that's a smart move.
We had guns when we were raided, but I don't know. I don't think they saw me and my brother as like the type of people that are waiting behind doors with guns. I don't know. They did come in like we were fucking Al Capone.
Gangbusters.
I'll give them that. Dude, the first time I was so confused as to why there's such a show of force. It was staggering. But that's neither here nor there.
Just reminded me of something. One time I got arrested, the cop dressed up as a pizza delivery guy.
Oh my god.
Because we ordered a pizza.
Uh-huh.
They intercepted. But he put on the fucking delivery cap, came to the door, knocked on the door, opened the door, strong arms his way in, pushes me down, jumps in, then all the rest of the cops came in. Pretty sweet way for them to get in the door.
Man, the second time I had guys come to my house, like I could tell someone was outside my door. I could kind of see someone through the corner. It was Valentine's night. Late. I'm playing some Madden with my brother and my best friend because we're losers. I open the door and there's a dude in like plain clothes and he tries to like force his way in and we get in a struggle.
Mm-hmm.
Before I become aware of the large police force behind him. And then it's just like, oh, I didn't realize it was you, gentlemen. Let me lie on my face and put my hands behind my back.
Well, he should have announced himself.
Exactly. You know what? Exactly. Because like I was hitting a police officer, like I hit him with a door.
Yes.
I see he's trying to get a weapon. I'm trying to keep him from getting his hand on his weapon. That would not have happened if they'd have just been like, police.
Yes.
I see you're here for me. Let me. I'm not going to fight the fucking police.
I've got one like that, but I'll save it for another time.
You're saving it for another time.
I don't want to one-up you, and also let's move on from our fucking criminal past. Remember,
everyone's a criminal.
I wasn't supposed to do that on the shows, right? I was supposed to.
You're not supposed to what?
Talk about like the craziness of the past.
I don't know, man. Like your past informs who you are to a certain extent. I don't know. That's your prerogative.
Mm-hmm. All right. So tonight, you and I have gotten together to talk because Ed has, I guess, more important things to do than fucking hang out with us.
Oh, that is not fair. Okay, no, let's come on. Let's be fair to Ed. We recorded a whole episode that no one will ever hear because it was just kind of shit. We were all just kind of off. Maybe it was a subject matter. Maybe I didn't do enough cocaine before we went on. I don't know. I don't know all the secrets here. But we decided to give it a second go and Ed couldn't make it. So we decided to do a shorter kind of off the cuff and put it out.
Yeah. So I guess tonight, you've been doing a little bit of research on, terrorism in America and mass shootings.
Well, I've seen a new narrative come out of the regressive left. Every time there's a mass shooting and it's a white guy, we're seeing these articles about America's white men mass shooter problem or America's, white men terrorist problems. And what you see is in a lot of these articles, they give like a partial picture. So I started digging in a little more. And it seems that, do I give the findings up front, Dave, or do we get into it later?
No, let's get into it after. So do you read the article that you have, and then to like set it up, I'll give my opinion on the article, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so I'm going to get into one opinion piece on CNN by Naz Modin.
No, that's not Nazmuddin.
Nazmuddin, excuse me.
I'm kidding. I don't fucking know.
Fucking, oh, you son of a bitch. I might leave that in. We'll see how it goes. It's like MOD and, seems like a nice, Muslim lady with a headscarf. So
I thought that was a guy.
I'm sure that she has no axe to grind against white men. I'm sure this is a fair piece.
That is, hang on. That is speculatory and racist.
That is speculative. Suck a dick. In the wake of one of the worst massacres in modern American history, our government's highest leaders will be silent about why things like this keep happening. Warmest condolences will be tweeted to families of those who lost their lives. Minutes of mourning will pass, and murmurs of mental health issues and lone wolf actors will taper into silence. Taming homegrown terror and tightening gun control will be dismissed as inappropriate or unnecessary politicizing of tragedy and quickly become secondary to more pressing issues on the administration's agenda. America has been there before. You know, it's already like she is picking a fight with the lone wolf thing. And I want to go ahead and address that narrative. You know, when it's a white man, it's lone wolf. And when it's a brown man, it's a terrorist. No, terrorism has a definition. If you are trying to achieve political goals outside of the electoral system using violence or terror, you are a terrorist. Okay?
Political or religious?
Political or religious. And of course, Islamists are both. It's a marriage of both. And when you yell Allahu Akbar before you run people or after you run people over the truck or before you blow yourself up, it's pretty easy to just go ahead and say immediately that was a terrorist act, as they claimed their political and religious agenda as they were carrying out the crime. Now, when white men tend to carry out these acts, when we see, Stephen Paddock, there's not a political agenda as far as we can tell. There's not an axe to grind. It really seems like a nut job.
Well, he lost a bunch of cash is the last thing that I read on him, was that he over the past, this has come out of the Las Vegas Sheriff's Department, and I'll find the link and pass it to you so people can see it anyways, that, he had hit a real losing streak because he was a shark, they call it down there, or a big whale, a whale. That's what they call them in Vegas. So.
That's still,
not political. No, I'm just.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, okay.
Giving you the reason why they said.
Dylan Roof, I would feel, which is, the guy that went into the Church South Carolina.
Church.
Yeah, he had a political, agenda that he was trying to settle.
Yes.
This guy that was marching with the guys in Charlottesville, I don't mind extending, because this was a politically motivated event that the guy acted in, and he attacked his opponents, right? I don't mind using that term.
The guy that ran people over?
Yeah, I don't know his name, and who gives a fuck. But I don't mind, because there's a political agenda there that's being acted out. So back to the article. In fact, America has been here 273 times in 2017 alone. Okay, so we're going to see two sets of statistics about mass shootings in America. There's apparently two separate definitions, and then there's this one and then another one. And I haven't been able to find this one broken down into race at all. I don't know who's. It's by the Gun Violence Archive, which compiles death and injuries from shooting incidents and defines a mass shooting as any incident where 4 or more people are wounded or killed. According to their tally, there have also been 11,698 deaths as a result of gun violence so far this year, which is a completely separate thing from mass shootings and terrorist attacks, right? Most gun deaths are suicides in the United States. Between 2001 and 2014, 440,000 deaths by firearms occurred on U.S. soil. while deaths by terrorism during those years are 3,412. Once again, most of those are. Mass shootings are a violent epidemic that have been met with fatal passivity for far too long. If mass shootings were perpetuated mostly by brown bodies, this would quickly be reframed and reaffirmed as an immigration issue. That's a baseless statement to be made. If thousands died at the hands of black men, Dave, am I?
No, it's like it. Okay,
what do you mean by if?
Yeah, thousands of black men do die at the hands of black men. So I just I just don't like. This is a factless piece.
Yes. If thousands died at the hands of black men, it would be used to excuse police brutality. I guess.
Which it already is.
Yeah, where's she at? Minimize the Black Lives Matter movement, which we've done here.
Mm-hmm.
Because they deserve it. And exacerbate the raging black man stereotype, which we haven't, done here. I don't see any purpose in that. If mass shooters identified as Muslim, it would quickly become terrorists and catalyze defense and security expenditures. But this is a white man's problem, according to analysis by Mother Jones. Out of 62 cases between 1982 and 2012, a time period that would not include the actions of Dylan Roof or Stephen Paddock, among others, 44 of the killers were white men, and only one was a woman. Since 1982, mass shootings in the United States have been committed by white men who are often labeled, quote, lone wolves, or, quote, psychologically impaired. As a result, the government that would otherwise be mobilizing its institutions to bring about reform remains a stalwart to the Second Amendment and mass shooting's greatest ally. An overaffinity for guns among white men, dangerous against any other backdrop, gets defended as patriotism by many conservatives or even as white pride by those on the alt-right. So I went into this Mother Jones article to see what they have, and it's all collected.
I can see where you're going with this. She confuses number with percentages and statistics, right?
So the Mother Jones article, once again, a different definition is used for mass shooters, but we get 91 between 1982 and when this data ended about a year ago. So 51 out of the what was it, 91, 92 people were white, which is 56% of them.
And the U.S. is what, 63% white?
I believe it's around 65. It's
65.
Over 56. 15 of the mass shooters were black, so that's 16% of them were black, and that's a 13%. Slight overrepresentation, but nothing to be alarmed about. Latinos are 8%, which is not too crazy for their population size. Asians are 8%, which is quite, honestly, it's a little bit of an overrepresentation. But the thing is, race shows no major, impact on there's nothing strange going on here.
Yeah, but here comes Dave, the super feminist. They're majority male,
Yes, they are majority male, and that's a conversation to be had. And, feminists, Dave wouldn't like an answer to that either. Men are the majority of the actors, of the people that go out and do most anything that's dangerous.
Mm-hmm.
Almost all dangerous jobs are majority men. That's a very complicated question, and I don't really know how to answer it, man.
Well, it's not an answering of anything. It's just like she was saying that it's a white male problem, and it seems to me, from an outsider looking in, from a guy that comes from a country where there's hardly any shootings, it doesn't compare. There are shootings here, but it doesn't compare to even one of your major cities. We get less murders of any kind in a year than Chicago gets of just shootings, death by gun. So it seems to me like it's an American male problem. You know what I mean? Not just a white American male or a black American male. It just seems like it's a problem in the U.S. and the majority of it is male.
Yes. I don't think that it's necessarily unique to the United States. I mean, you have a great deal of violence coming from young men, in a lot of impoverished countries.
For sure. I'm just saying, in particular, the mass shooting, like the phenomenon of the mass shooting in the U.S. And I will say this, in the industrialized nations, in the Western countries.
There's something very odd going on to be a first world nation to have, the amount of violence that we have. And absolutely.
I would say out of the, we could break it down to like the G20. Out of the G20, it is a uniquely American thing. Would you agree?
I would agree with that. And if anyone has any sort of evidence about another G20 country that has violence, and here's the thing, we might have like higher gun violence and lower other sorts of crimes, but anywhere that has higher, violent crime rates.
Anywhere that has more mass shootings, because I'm narrowing this down to mass shootings. I'm not narrowing it down to stabbings or anything like that. It's just like, you don't hear from other countries, right?
Door closed.
Yes.
Yeah, no, yeah. You're right. Yes. We are unique in the mass shootings. There's stats everywhere where we're off the chart.
Because in England, they'll stab a motherfucker up. I'm sure there's more stabbings in England than there are in the U.S., but that's because you guys have more guns.
There's also
right?
a much higher rate of like hot burglary in the UK because no one has guns. So you're much more comfortable going into a home with someone there than you are here in the United States.
But that doesn't explain why. Well, I guess because people have guns in Canada. Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Sorry, I kind of derailed you on your.
Yeah, that's fine. Let's see how America has silent. Fuck that article. Okay, so we also hear the America's terrorism problem is a white terrorism problem.
Yes, from the militia groups is what the Christian right extremist militia groups is what I've been hearing.
And I actually want to go. I'm going to use a PolitiFact article on this one. I look at data on domestic terrorism and who is behind it. And of course, PolitiFact, I wish they would be more neutral. And by more neutral, I mean, I wish they would be something that might be mistaken as neutral sometimes. But let's read the article.
Damn bias? What?
Yeah. A deadly attack in Charlottesville, Virginia during a white nationalist rally and counter-protest brought attention to far-right terrorism and how it compares with radical Islamic terrorism. President Donald Trump, always quick to denounce radical Islam terrorist attacks, was widely criticized for taking longer to explicitly condemn white nationalists. After first criticizing actions on, quote, many sides, Trump finally gave a full-throttle condemnation 2 days later. The day after that, he said he thought there is blame on both sides. If you're wondering how they're going to relate this to fucking terrorism, like, on large, me too. During the August 12th protest, the driver of a Dodge Challenger drove into a crowd of people. Heather D. Heyer, 32, was killed and at least 19 others were injured, said a statement from the city government. Authorities charged a 20-year-old man from Ohio, James A. Field Jr., with second-degree murder. And he deserves it, and I don't know if it was on or off mic. It was on earlier. This guy I would consider a terrorist. So the attack met the legal definition of...
But hang on, he was white, right? So he was not going to be declared a terrorist, so...
That's right. He is white. So according to the last thing we heard, this guy is going to be a lone wolf. So... The next sentence in the article, the attack met the legal definition of domestic terrorist, said Attorney General Jeff Sessions.
And Sessions to fucking boot.
Yes.
Like if you're gonna find a racist cocksucker that's gonna be like on the side of a white nationalist, that's gonna be the fucking guy, right?
Yes. If someone is gonna fucking pull the wool over our eyes. After the Charlottesville event, we wondered about the latest numbers on domestic terrorism. How many attacks have there been and who caused them? A recent government report shows that from September 12th to 2001, let's go. A recent government report shows that from September 12th, 2001 to December 31st, 2016.
What, hang on. Why the 12th? Why? Jesus Christ.
That is odd. I wonder why they picked some different. Did anything weird happen on September 11th, 2001, Dave?
No.
Nothing out of the ordinary? No? Okay, whatever. I guess that's not skewed statistics. But let's move on. Let's see what they say. To December 31st, 2016, there were 85 deadly attacks in the United States by violent extremists. Most of the attacks were carried out by far-right violent extremists, but more people died during attacks connected with Islamic jihadist extremists. So, when and we're taking out the 3,000 from the day before these numbers start, okay? And
unfucking real.
And even with that fucking, handicap, the minority of Islamic attacks are still beating the right-wing extremists that are the people we're supposed to be concerned about, according to this article, right? Okay. What government source says about violent extremism? Violent extremism is generally defined as supporting or committing violent acts to achieve political, ideological, religious, or social goals, said an April 2017 report from U.S. Government Accountability Office. Perpetrators of violent extremism include white supremacists, anti-government groups with extreme views on abortion, animal rights, the environmental federal ownership of public lands, and radical Islamic entities such as ISIS. Of these 225 deaths, 106 individuals were killed by far right-wing extremists in 62 incidents, and 119 individuals were killed by radical Islamic extremists in 23 separate incidents. So even though, pretty much half of the people who have died from terrorist attacks in the United States since the day after September 11th have been at the hands of Islamic extremists. But that's not who we should be concerned about, according to this article.
Well, I just if they're the ones that, so you're more likely to be killed by an Islamic extremist than you, even though there's more white supremacist far right terrorist groups. You're more likely to die.
Well, I'm gonna get a little more into why these numbers are so extraordinary later, which.
But here's the thing is the whole fucking thing is this whole study's fucking bullshit because how can you start September 12th, 2001? We're
even granting that. Like all we've done is mocked that. We're still using their numbers that they brought forward. So, the GAO noted that 41% of deaths caused by radical Islamic during the reviewed period happened in one incident. The Orlando nightclub shooting. So he's skewing the numbers a little bit. But Paddock would skew the numbers back to even right now, even though he wouldn't be a terrorist attack. So no, he wouldn't.
No.
Born in the United States to Afghan parents. Well, and once again, they have to point out that he was born in the United States. I don't give a fuck if you were born here or there. It doesn't matter to me. Like, if you're here murdering people for political gains or agenda, that's a crime in its own. That's a tragedy in its own. It matters not where you were born. It is a foreign ideology, though. So even if you're born here,
here's like my number one, like not my number one issue, but one of the big issues that I have with the left when it comes to the Islamic terrorism and labeling of it being an act of terrorism is that even when the Islamists say we're doing this in the name of Islam, this is a terrorist act, we are Muslims, we are Islamists, they refuse to admit this. Like the left, they just no, they're not real Muslims. No, it wasn't done in the name of Islam. It's not an act of terrorism. They're just, it's an economic thing is like the biggest, like the Cenk guy from Young Turks. That's his big thing is that it's an economic thing. Yet, you see a high percentage of the people that are committing terrorist acts, especially like before the influx into Europe. Like if you look at the terrorist attack on the airport in Scotland and some of the other ones, like a high number of them, they're actually well-educated doctor types that are committing look at Osama bin Laden. He didn't have an economic issue. He funded a fucking war. You know what I mean? Like he had the money.
Right.
So it's like, give me a fucking break.
So according to the skewed study, right, 26% of the attacks were Muslim, and 74% were far right wing extremists. Which it's odd to me that there's not room for anything else in this chart.
Like, is there no Tamils or?
Well, the thing is, like, I'm going to go to some older numbers, and they're quite different. But it includes international. This is just domestic on these numbers.
So there's no Black Panthers in this newer one. Nothing.
No. It's just these two. But okay, so 1% of the U.S. population is Muslim. Okay, this is a giant gaping hole in their. Their argument here is that, 74% of terrorist attacks in the United States are right-wing extremists. Okay, well, they're half the country is right-wing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. So the number is slightly overrepresented. Right? If it's 74%, yes. It's slightly overrepresented.
Well,
okay.
1% of the country is Muslim, and they are a quarter of the terrorist attacks. Like that is.
So they're way overrepresented.
26 times over what they're supposed to be. They have 26 extra servings of terror, compared to what their population is in the United States. So,
and that's, I want to add the 2000, or the September 11th in this, because it's retarded to he's just like, I'm going to pick that day. Like, he should have went like September 1st, 2002, if he's going to do anything. There must have been a reason why he wanted that 2001 year in there. There must have been some kind of right-wing extremist terrorist act that caused, or a few during that time, because they're like, September 11th happens, and then there's probably some acts against Muslims that they wanted to skew the numbers with, because otherwise, why would you start at because anybody with an objective mind would look at that, see the date as September 12th, 2001, and be like, why didn't he start from the 1st of September? Why is it necessarily that day? And for me, I would say because there's probably something from the other side that he wanted to add to skew the numbers, since he's already skewing the numbers that big.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I have another article here that was posted on May 1st of 2013. And the numbers go all the way back to 1980, and they extend to 2005. Okay. And this was, brought together by Princeton University's Loon Watch, which I trust much more, than Politico. And it was compiled using FBI data. So what this actually shows is that the largest portion of terrorist attacks carried out on U.S. soil internationally. So that includes like embassies and things like
embassies. That. I was going to ask you earlier about that, because
the other one was just in the United States. These include just attacks on the United States.
Because I wanted to yell Benghazi.
42%, the largest percentage, are actually Latino. Right?
Terrorist
I did not see that coming. Going back into the 80s, though, we had a lot of problems in South America.
Well, we did fight a war in.
Yeah.
Right?
So anyway, the next largest is 24% at extreme left-wing groups. I wonder why these guys didn't make it into the numbers at all on the Politico.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
the next largest is other 16%. Right-wing is not on this at all. Okay. The next largest is Jewish extremist at 7%. Didn't even know that was a cocksucking thing. Okay.
Neither did I.
The next is Islamic extremist at 6%.
Okay.
But of course, this is only 4 years into the international war on terror, the global war on terror.
Okay.
That's before that grew. And communists were 5%. So communists are not included in extreme left-wing groups. Those are mostly right.
I was thinking it was I was thinking the extreme left wing. If Ed was here, you know what he'd be saying right now? No, it's the animal activists.
It's the animal activists and the environmentalists and those type of guys.
That's exactly what
that's who it was.
Because
once again, what we're seeing here is if we look into the past of the United States, into the recent past, once again, there is not some great problem to be pinned on one particular group. What we see is that terrorism is largely based on the political climate rather than the race of the people. Shockingly.
I'm saying shockingly. I gotta say though, like if you looked at, like, take France for instance, who has a population, a Muslim population of 10%. Mm-hmm. So if you're looking in the U.S., you have 1% of the population doing 26% of the terrorist acts. Imagine if 10% of your population was Muslim.
Well, so I think you start building barriers where people walk and around your monuments and things.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. You get what you have in France and Germany and Sweden.
Yes.
Yeah. No, so their argument is, okay, so there's not a race, no, but once again, political environment and, ISIS is a political entity and, a lot of these Islamic groups are political. Yes, they're religious, but they're also political entities.
Islam
it's not that they're brown, Dave. It's that they have a religion that teaches them that we're infidels and
and their religion encompasses political, it encompasses economic. Like if you're a person that hasn't ever looked into Islam, just think of Islam as like your society. The religion controls everything, the economic system, the political system, the laws, basically like what hand you can wipe your ass with, literally. It controls every aspect of society. So
Yes, it's a totalitarian idea, and ideas do have weight on terrorism. Obviously, far right wing extremism also, and that's why they both
far worse than an idea. It's a belief.
Correct. Well, yeah. So yeah. No, I've grown tired of seeing these articles roll across my fucking feed. And it's brought up every time. It's almost like the left is doing what they accuse the right of doing. Like every time there is anything happens that can fit into their political narrative, they manipulate it to make it fit. And it's interesting to see what the political narrative is like. Why are people so motivated to bash on white men right now? I mean, it's feeding the alt-right. It's giving them all the fuel they need to build a movement. I don't understand the motivation behind bashing white men in America. I don't get it.
Well, the answer that they give is because the white man was winning, I guess, for so long, or like
that they deserve,
or assholes, that they just like sins of the father, right? So like your dad was an ass, and in this case, it's not even your dad. It's like your great grandfather was an ass. So you
not my dad.
Super duper not your dad's brown, but I'm white as fuck.
It's your dad.
It's my dad. My dad was actually like quick story. Bastard. My dad was super racist. Like incredibly racist. Like I'm talking like race would beat people up because of their race, racist. Like just an ass. Your great ancestor was a shitty fucking dude. So now you shut the fuck up. Well, we fucking treat you like shit because our ancestors, not even us, but our ancestors were treated like shit.
You know what, man? Look, it's one thing to say shut the fuck up, which I have a problem with, to tell someone to shut up because of their race. It's another thing to start coloring an entire race to be the problem. You see what I'm saying? Like, that's a totally different thing. You're trying to pin terrorism on white people because they have their fair share, their representative share, slightly underrepresentative share. I definitely understand why some people can be led down this paranoid path of, well, they hate us and they want to replace us. And I think, like, I guess I'm kind of explaining why this bothered me enough to talk about it into a microphone, right? You're feeding into this paranoid delusion that white people are being wiped out, or there's a need or a desire to. And I don't understand the motivation for it.
Well,
Shrug.
I don't know. People like power. So, and I guess like the people that are pushing that narrative, that it must make them feel, pretty powerful to shit on other people.
I guess. I mean, someone like Sargon always says that, it's all power politics, which is not something I've ever been obsessed with. Maybe I would understand them more if I were to investigate more. If you
take a look at, not the Evergreen situation, but the Halloween costume one where the guy was, defending his wife, the dean at the university, nobody's going to understand what the fuck I'm talking about other than you. But, when that student was like,
1 year
don't
ago
you move
at
your
Halloween.
hands.
Wait. That's
Go ahead, set it up.
Hold on, that's not the one at Yale defending his wife.
Yes, the Yale. No, the Yale one.
Okay,
there is an audio.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yes, I know the whole "don't move your hands" thing was ever good.
Yes. No, but she was saying the same thing to him.
Oh, was she?
Like, I wasn't mad before. I'm mad now. Fucking, don't you move your fucking hands. That's an aggressive action towards me. It's like the student so like the dean of the university who should be in the power.
Quick setup.
Yeah, go ahead.
1 year ago, right before Halloween, there's the whole cultural appropriation thing, like don't dress as natives or Mexicans or whatever. The list doesn't end. So a letter goes out from the dean's wife saying, hey, everybody, just try to get along, and it's not that really big of a deal. Talk it out. Enjoy yourselves. And people got fucking furious about them not coming out against fucking cultural appropriation. Yeah, no one dressed like Pocahontas. And so there's a giant confrontation, and they corner the guy and scream at him for hours. There's video of it on. Sam Harris has a great podcast on it.
But let me set up the power dynamic there, right? So you have the dean of the university who in non-crazy fucking SJW political correctness times is the power structure. So he would be like the archetype. Sorry for going all fucking Peterson on you, but he would be the archetype of the power in the fucking school.
He's the swinging dick.
He's a swinging dick, but in this situation where you throw in the word racism or cultural appropriation, now the student can take over and display the power over that. And I'm sure it was very intoxicating for an 18-year-old to be able to tell the dean of the university not to move and don't you say a word because I wasn't angry before, but I'm angry now and I want your job. You're going to be fired. And to say those things to the dean of the university must have been very intoxicating to an 18-year-old to feel powerful, because as we know, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
No, I definitely get that. That's gonna be a mess to edit.
Yeah, but whatever.
It's fine.
We're just having a conversation.
That's true.
So.
That's true. Well,
I would say that that it would be like the article that you read at the beginning, right? The opinion piece, the Muslim woman there. I would say that her piece isn't based on facts, or isn't even based on wanting to solve the problem of the Islamic terrorists and the right-wing extremist terrorists, because that's what we deal with on this show, right? We deal with the political extremes. She's not trying to solve those situations. She's more doing a tit for tat. See, we have our terrorists, you have your fucking terrorists too, and there's a lot more of them. And I'm going to skew the situation to make it look worse than it actually is.
Well, okay. So you know how we had the two set of numbers, the one to where you can count like a mass shooting every day, and I wasn't able to find those broken down by race. And the other one is actually, someone going out and what we would consider to be, not like technically a mass shooting, but a mass shooting where a guy is just going out and trying to create havoc. A drive-by, right? So I want to speculate about those numbers just a little bit. Half of the murders in the United States, just over half the murders in the United States, are in the black community.
Yes, and they're committed by 7%.
Yes, and the vast majority of those murders are carried out with firearms. The majority of murders in the United States are firearms. If we're counting every time more than 3 people that are killed with a gun in the United States to be a mass shooting, I'll find it hard to believe that the black community wouldn't be leading the pack, just because they're half the murders. Period. How can they not be at least half the mass shootings, or close? At least a third. But those numbers aren't.
But do they consider that gang violence? Like, does it have their own? Like it has its own subsect. Like a serial killer is not a spree killer, right? And a spree killer is not a mass.
Spree killers is I think where they get the 91 number from. I think that would probably be. You know what I mean? Like, because how else would you break if it's not just more than 4? Where did the 91 come from over, a 30-year period?
Sorry, I watch Mindhunters on fucking Netflix, and now I'm a fucking expert on the different types of fucking. It's a good show. Check it out.
I believe you. Yeah. We probably have enough here today. We got like 45 minutes or so.
Yeah. All right. I enjoyed our conversation as usual.
Yeah, this was fun. Maybe people listening at home enjoyed it as well.
Or not. Doesn't matter. Fuck you guys. How about that?
Fair enough. On the other side of that coin, thanks for listening. Oh, man.
Thanks. Anyways, see you guys next Friday. Bye.
You've been listening to the Everyone's Wrong podcast. You can find us on our homepage at Spreaker.com/everyone'swrong. You can also find us on iTunes and YouTube by searching for Everyone's Wrong podcast, or you can listen to us on your podcast app of choice by importing our RSS feed. You can follow us on Facebook.com/everyone'swrong, or join our closed Facebook group by searching Facebook for Everyone's Wrong After Hours. You can tweet us at wrong_pod or email us at everyone'swrongpodcast@gmail.com.